Tensions in Minnesota continue to ramp up, prompting new protests today in Minneapolis and nationwide for that matter, all against ICE operations. And of course, all of this is following two shooting deaths this month, both of which involve federal agents. And although President Trump has said that he's wanting to de-escalate tensions, literally hundreds of protests are expected to take place today and tomorrow. So what's behind all the growing momentum of these demonstrations? And perhaps more importantly, who's fueling these protests and agitators? Well, joining me now to discuss this, good friend and a great leader, Dr. J. Michael Waller. He's senior analyst for strategy at the Center for Security Policy. He's also authored and edited books relating to intelligence and political warfare, public diplomacy, terrorism, and subversion, and so forth. Dr. Waller, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to have you, my friend.
Good to be back with you.
Okay, well, let's start with what do you make of what we're seeing with all these anti-ICE protests? Is there something else going on behind the scenes, or are these just random protests?
No, these are not random organic protests. These are orchestrated protests, probably orchestrated by people outside Minnesota. If you look at different movements like this around the world over the past few decades, you saw them in Northern Ireland in support of the IRA. You saw them in El Salvador in support of the communist guerrillas. You saw them in Iraq when U.S. forces went in and you had the Shiite crowds. They were all orchestrated by the Iranian regime against us. So there's some larger force behind this that's orchestrated in a very technical way, the way you would expect in a foreign unconventional warfare operation.
Yeah, and that's really disturbing. I want to point out a post that you shared on X where you said that you were trained, frankly, by professional organizers while you were a teenager. And in your experience, can you share with us how these professional organizers operate and how they influence others, influence non-professionals to be agitators for whatever cause?
Well, yeah, it happened in my case. I was 15 years old. I was a high school student, and my social studies teacher, who I really liked a lot, got me involved because he knew I was interested in the outdoors. I was interested in fishing. I was interested in the environment. I was not a leftist, but those were my interests. So he got me involved in the protest movement against a nuclear power plant that was under construction in our state, saying that this is going to radiate the earth and it's going to destroy the fishing beds with the water coming out of the cooling systems and so forth. And so that sincere concern of mine got me involved. And being a kid, thought it's kind of cool that these older people are taking interest in me, and they want me to attend, and they're sending you along to help you, in leadership positions and so forth, just as a nobody. And I was able to express in what I thought was a really edgy kind of way my concerns about the environment, which were real, but they were naive. And it wasn't until I was put through what I later learned was a struggle session, where these were actual communist organizers, professionals who'd come in from California to New England, specifically to train dupes and useful idiots like me to become militant agitators. So I broke with them.
So is it fair to say that many of these people are simply getting manipulated to join these protests and actually are being used for political purposes?
Sure. And that's always been the case with political warfare. You like, it's never the organizers who get bagged. They never get shot. They never get arrested. It's a combination of very sincere people, some of the kindest people in the world you'll find in these movements. They're just dupes. But there are also a lot of people with a lot of anger, deep-set anger against, something in their personal lives or the government or the system or something else. Those folks who have psychological struggles are very, very easy to manipulate. And you put them out there as your cutting edge, and they're the ones who end up doing really stupid things, attacking cops, attacking soldiers and other federal agents, and they're the ones who end up getting shot to make the headlines. But it's arranged that way. This is part of the political technology to arrange for the creation of martyrs for the cause.
Oh, we're hearing now that even the Chinese Communist Party is allegedly bankrolling some of these protesters, and there are other socialist groups and so forth, left-wing groups that are supposedly behind all of this. Do those who are funding and encouraging these agitators, do they want to escalate violence? Do they at all care about the safety of those who are both agitating and who are being agitated?
Those types of funders, no, they want this to happen. They want to polarize. They want to break apart society. They want to set our society against itself so that we don't even identify as Americans with each other anymore. They want to fuel all of this. And you saw it coming from really all our lives, right? You had the anti-war protesters in the 1960s. They had a real cause. There was a draft. It was an unjust draft. It was a war that President Johnson was kind of covering up and lying about, and then Nixon inherits it. But it was against the communists. What did the communists do? They came and they turned the anti-war agitators into pro-communist organizers in Cuba, and then indoctrinated for over 50 years generations of these activists.
Well, it's amazing to me how few Democrats are not. How they're not getting involved as a party. Let me put this to condemn this. They seem to be behind it. And this seems to be in and of itself almost like a spiritual experience. This is the type of thing that happens when God is left out of the equation in our country. This is a type of thing that happens. I want to thank you, Dr. J. Michael Waller, Senior Analyst for Strategy at the Center for Security Policy. Always great to have you with us here on Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.